Long Distance Voyager was one of those albums that brought the Moody Blues, a band that seemed to have many lives, because in the 60s, they had the Go Now version of the Moody Blues with Denny Laine, who later went on to Wings. Then the Mike Pinder stage of the band with Justin Hayward and John Lodge, where they had a lot of hits, most notably Tuesday Afternoon, Nights in White Satin. And then in the 70s, they came back. In the 80s, they really came back, and the album Long Distance Voyager was a big part of that. We'll talk about that with Justin Hayward and John Lodge on Rock History Music. It's 10 interesting facts about the Moody Blues album Long Distance Voyager. Chart success. Released in May 1981, Long Distance Voyager became the Moody Blues' second album to top the Billboard 200 chart in the US, their first being Seven Sojourn in 1972. New keyboardist. This album marked the debut of keyboardist Patrick Moraz, who had joined the band a few years before, replacing Mike Pinder. Moraz brought a fresh sound to the band, having previously been in the group Yes. Hit singles. The album produced two major hit singles, Gemini Dream and The Voice. Gemini Dream reached number 12 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 1 in Canada. The Voice tapped the Billboard mainstream rock chart and peaked at number 15 on the Hot 100. Concept album? There's been ongoing debate on whether Long Distance Voyager was a concept album, like the band's first record with Justin Hayward and John Lodge, Days of Future Past, which was officially the second Moody Blues album, after Denny Laine, who later joined Wings, left the band. While John Lodge has suggested a loose theme, Justin Hayward dismissed the idea, saying the album title was chosen simply because it sounded appealing. The cover art. It featured a print with the Voyager spacecraft added. It was inspired by a museum visit. John Lodge later found the original painting in a South London antique store and bought it. Recording locations. The album was recorded at the band's own Threshold Studios and RAK Studios in London. Threshold Studios was a custom design for the band by Decca Records. Production. It was the first Moody Blues album in over a decade not to be produced by Tony Clark. Instead, Pip Williams took on the production duties, updating the band's sound while retaining their classic elements. Legal battles. Before the album's release, the band faced a lawsuit from former keyboardist Mike Pinder, who had actually left a few years before. He argued that the group shouldn't use the name the Moody Blues without his involvement. The lawsuit, however, was unsuccessful. Musical styles. The album blends the Moody Blues symphonic rock style with elements of new wave and pop, featuring lush arrangements and synthesizer-driven tracks that appealed to an early 80s FM audience. Critical reception. The album was well received, with Billboard praising its gorgeous melodies, harmonies, and poetic lyrics, and Cashbox noting the band's luxurious symphonic rock sound. Just a few facts on a very successful comeback album by the Moody Blues. Long Distance Voyager, 1981. Why wasn't there a title to The Voice till after the song was it recorded? But then you gave it the title?
Yes, that's right. I didn't have a title when I wrote it, didn't have a title when I made the demo, didn't have a title when I played it to the other guys, didn't have a title when we went to the mastering suite. We used to go to a place called the Mastering Suite in Dhaka. I really used to like that bit because that was the bit where you could, you knew how it was going to sound on the disc. No, and no, I'd written the lyrics down, but I could not think of a title. Now with The Voice, we've got to wait a while before the title comes along. It's like Question. Another song I did called Question. Some titles were easy. Nights was easy to me. I've just spent most of my life trying to explain it. Like we said that just now. Tuesday Afternoon was easy. But Wildest Dreams. Some songs that just don't arrive. Actually, Living for Love didn't arrive. I had the song, and I had 2 or 3 titles for it.
Do you think with the Moody's, everyone contributed so much, especially you and Justin? Did you and Justin ever have a Lennon McCartney thing where if someone contributes at that level, it makes you work a little harder? Was that even conscious for you?
I think Justin and I used to sit in his studio or my studio, and we'd go back for thoughts and ideas, like Gemini Dream. I think the original title was Touring the USA, because we wanted a song that put us back on the road, because really we hadn't been on the road for 6 years. And I remember thinking, oh, long time no see, you know. And when we created the song, it developed and developed, and we realized when we were on stage, we were a different person to when we were at home. And when we were on stage, we were living that Gemini dream, being a musician.
Who taught you how to phrase? Because I remember Gemini Dream to me and a few of your other songs, I like the way you phrase. Was there something that taught you? Because there's a nice bounce to Gemini Dream. Is there anybody that you liked that you learned songwriting from in the early days?
I don't really know. I just love music. It went into Buddy Holly was the mainstay for me, because he showed me how to be a songwriter and performer, and you didn't have to be a massive American icon like Elvis or Gene Vincent, you know. English people couldn't do that. We couldn't do that. We've never been able to do that. And we found another way through Buddy Holly. That's what the chord structures. Really interesting chords. No 12 bars anymore, just different. Yeah. And I think following that line, but I think I loved all the American vocal harmony groups, starting with the Platters, but then Temptations, Impressions, Otis Redding, you know. They had something really fantastic. And I thought, if he could take that type of harmony into English guys, it might really work well.
Gemini Dream, #1 in Canada. You know that? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Tell me about that song. We love that song. That was so huge here. Tell me about that song.
Yeah, it was really about. It was like, okay, that's what we're going to do now. What have we been doing? We haven't been doing anything. We've been just like what everyone else does, not musicians. And so, in a way, it was this Gemini thing about A, being on stage in front of thousands of people, and B, being at home, you know, painting the shed or something like that. It really was about this Gemini world we were living in. And I think a lot of us have that Gemini world we live in. And I think that's what, you know, touched a lot of people, because your world you live in isn't just about one thing. It's about lots of things within you to make you who you are.
Did you see a line in the sand from the 60s and 70s?
You know, I think you're right. I think there was a change, and I think we felt it within the Moody's. We drifted apart in 74 by just not making any plans. We'd been on the road so much, and 7 albums, you know, one after the other, sometimes 2 a year. And there was a whole different thing going on in the US, and there was a different feeling. And I think we drifted apart. I was lucky enough to drift into the War of the Worlds with Jeff Wayne and a song called Forever Autumn. And I don't know whether that's known really in where you are, but I hope so, because I'm going to play it. And but yes, I think that, yeah, we came back in 77. We were back together recording the Octave album. And I do think really, yes, things had changed. They certainly changed in the UK. And I think we were always following our own road, though. So we never felt like we were leaders in any way. We were just we've been so used to being like a second at the opening act or second and third on the bill that what was happening in the general changes in the music business, I can't say it really affected us. We could learn from it. And then the most important thing that happened to me in the late 70s and early 80s was time code.
Mm-hmm.
Time code, it's as simple as that, MIDI. And I got, you know, a DX7, a drum machine. Hey, my demos now, it's not just something on a Fostex. They're really something that I can take into the studio. And I think Long Distance Voyager was the first time I ever took time code into the studio with things on it that was that we're really going to keep.
Everyone had a
big
Yamaha
change.
DX7 in the 80s. Everyone had a DX7.
Yeah.
It became expensive.
Yes, still got it. Yeah.
Oh, do
Yeah.
you really? You still have yours?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you believe in luck, by the way? I think that you do the work, you get in the right rooms, you've got intuition to be with the right people, but luck plays a part. But do you believe how much luck plays into this?
You rehearse hard so that when luck happens, you're ready.
Best answer I ever had to that. Do you get songs coming all the time in your head?
I wish. No, I mean, I'm a guitar player, and you know, I have my keyboards as well at home, but stuff jumps out of the guitar, and you know, if we put our minds to it, that's how it usually works with me. I don't have bits of music going around in my head. I write a lot of things down now. I never used to. I always used to do it the other way around, where I would just play, something would come out of the guitar, and then I'd put a couple of lines would jump into my head, and then I'd embellish that and work on that and make a song out of it. Nowadays, I write a lot of things down, and I find that they come in useful later on, really, when I'm doing a song. I kind of do it the other way around now.
Remember, subscribe to the channel. We'd love to have you on board. And keep in mind, we have a Patreon. You can get early access to our videos. You can make a donation via PayPal, but subscribe, like our videos, comment on them, and like them. I'm John Bowden. This is Rock History Music. Take care of yourself.